holding this important hearing. The United States is a nation of law and order. Those two things go hand in hand because when you have laws that are obeyed, you have order in your communities. But for too long, liberal states and cities have decided to simply ignore the federal laws they don't agree with. When I was the governor of Florida, I didn't have to worry about our sheriffs not enforcing the law because President Trump and our federal law enforcement have to worry about that every day. The American people voted very clearly to secure the border. That's what the election was about, and stop illegal immigration. We're a country of legal immigration, not illegal immigration. And without a single new law being enacted, President Trump has delivered and secured the border when President Biden said he couldn't do it. President Trump and the heroic men and women of our ICE and Border Patrol are enforcing our laws, and they're securing our nation, and the crime rate is down. But some Americans say, no, we won't follow federal law. We want to be a sanctuary for people who broke the law to enter our country illegally. It is a violation. It's against the law to come into our country illegally, like most countries. It's dangerous, it's costly to the American taxpayer, and has horrific consequences. That's why I and my colleague on this committee, Senator Moreno, have introduced two bills to curb this kind of dangerous disregard for the law. Our Unifying American Security Interest Act and Sanctuary Jurisdiction Event Security Enhancement Act, which stop DHS funding grants and financial assistance from going to cities and jurisdictions that refuse to support our ICE and DHS agents in their efforts to keep our streets safe. Americans clearly don't want their tax dollars used for handouts to illegal aliens for health care or food stamps while we have American citizens here at home who are going without. And that's the exact kind of waste and financial mismanagement that these bills will stop. But that's just the financial cost. Let's talk about the human cost. Laken Riley, a nursing student, 22 years old, in Georgia, was beaten with a rock and strangled by a Venezuelan illegal alien who had been caught at the border and released under Biden's open borders rules. Rachel Marin, 37, of Maryland, mother of 5, who was raped and murdered while hiking by a Salvadoran criminal alien who crossed our border illegally, not once, not twice, but 3 times under Biden. Kate Sinley, 32, died in her father's arms on a San Francisco pier after being shot by a 5-time Mexican deportee who was allowed to roam freely because the city's sanctuary policy led local officials to ignore an ICE detainer. These are just a few of the many lives cut short and the potential unrealized lives because of Biden's open borders that allowed dangerous people to come into this country and the sanctuary cities that chose to support and encourage these criminals. I'm from Florida. We are an immigration state, legal immigration. We don't support illegal immigration. Sheriff Chapman, my question, how can open borders and lax immigration policies like a sanctuary cities be considered humane by Democrats if they fail to protect the very citizens Democrats and other elected officials are meant to serve, and they're under an oath of office to serve?
Well, I agree with that. I mean, the most important thing is for us to keep safety, keep our people safe, and we've got to do everything in our power, and that includes working with everybody. And I make that point all the time to my constituents, say, look, we want to work with all of our federal counterparts. We all have different missions here, different cogs in the wheel, but we all have to work together to keep everybody safe.
Is it better for you if you turn a criminal over to ICE rather than let them back into the community?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Mr. Wolf, in sanctuary cities, local authorities can decline ICE detainers, which means that criminals are released back in the community rather than transferred safely into ICE custody. This creates opportunities for illegal fugitives to relocate or reoffend, like in the tragic murder of Kate Steinle. It also forces DHS officers to go into neighborhoods to root out violent criminals. Not only does this cost the taxpayer more, it also increases the risk for everyone involved, including bystanders, DHS officers, and potential future victims. How do these policies prioritize offenders over American victims by obstructing deportations?
Well, when ICE is required to go into a community out on the streets, right, instead of going into that jail setting and picking up that criminal illegal alien, it'll take 1 or 2 officers to go into a jail setting. If they have to go into their neighborhood, it's going to take 15 to 20 officers to apprehend that same individual. You're putting not only officers at risk, you're putting that alien at risk, and you're putting others in that community at risk. So the idea here, and it's an ironic kind of play here, is that individuals and politicians that want less ICE in their jurisdictions, they will give them sanctuary policies to say, we want ICE out. But in fact, it just requires them to be more in their communities because They won't go into a jail setting. They have to go into their neighborhoods. They have to continue to enforce immigration law. So if your idea is, I want to see less ICE in my community, I don't like immigration enforcement, let them into your jail. Let them pick up those criminal illegal aliens. Otherwise, they're going to be out on your streets because they have to continue to enforce immigration law. And of course, it's better with local law enforcement support and cooperation. But again, in many jurisdictions, sanctuary jurisdictions, we don't see that either.
Thank you, Chairman.